Tonight, Fix the Country movement vows to defy police and go ahead with planned 3-day protests at the seat of government, despite the police serving organizers with a court injunction application.
No member of the security forces is being invited to this demonstration. This is a demonstration which
Fix the Country and the police over this 3-day protest at the seat of government, with the police now filing an application and announcing that it has successfully served it on the organizers. Well, there is a strongly worded statement tonight from the organizers as well, determined to call the bluff of the police. We'll get into that pretty shortly, but listen to convener of the group laying out why they've taken the decision to hold the protest tomorrow.
We are engaged in what is a peaceful demonstration. The freedom of assembly and the right to protest is constitutionally guaranteed to every citizen. This is an activity that we take on and the right we are exercising solemnly, and a reminder of where we have gotten to as a society. It is not an invitation for chaos. And I know that some of the conversations around Jubilee House and anything which demands accountability, particularly because we are under a regime that has weaponized fear, that so much fear has been weaponized that anybody feels that if they are exercising their rights, they're going to come under attack. I assure you, for as long as our cameras are alive, so for as long as our resolve is settled, we will make sure that every person who is coming there will be protected. We're putting together volunteer marshals who are going to provide protection and security to everybody and organize and help orderly control of everybody there. Now, one of the bigger conversations that we have had in preparing for this match is the conversations around military overthrows in the sub-region. And it's important that we address this head on. One, and importantly, no member of the security forces is being invited to this demonstration. This is a demonstration which is open only to civilians. And never in my recollection of the history of this country have civilians engaged in an unconstitutional overthrow of the government. This is not the purpose of this gathering. The purpose is to remind duty bearers that we citizens demand for a different kind of leadership and to improve the face of our democracy.
Well, my colleague who also has been following this very closely for us with the legal affairs desk joins us right now in the studio. The police, they've issued a statement tonight. Have they secured a court injunction?
They have secured no injunction. In fact, a statement from the police indicates that they have filed an application at the court and successfully served the organizers of the group, identifying itself as Democracy Hub in connection with a planned demonstration within the vicinity of the Jubilee House from Thursday 21st to Saturday 23rd September 2023. In fact, they said that as they wait for the court to determine the matter, they wish to urge the public to take note and disregard any calls from individuals or groups encouraging them to assemble for a demonstration at the Jubilee House. And they equally wish to urge the organizers to respect the due process in the interest of public order and public safety.
And the organizers have also responded in kind. They are asking the public to also disregard the police.
Yes, and that is true. In fact, they indicate that they are appalled by the desperate and likely partisan attempt by the police to disrupt their peaceful and democratic mobilization of their upcoming Occupy Jubilee House picket. In fact, they are inviting the general public to disregard a statement which is riddled with misinformation, and their picket will proceed as planned. In fact, they are inviting the general public to assemble at the 37 Trotro station from 6:30 a.m. tomorrow for an onward march to the Jubilee House, as they choose to call it. And their decision follows that of the legal position taken by the government, the Electoral Commission, that the mere filing of an application does not prevent the exercise of their constitutional rights.
Thank you very much, Coach. I want to bring in convener for the group, Oliver Bakavoma, joins us right now on the line. Oliver, I see the police statement and they are very emphatic that they have successfully served it on the organizers. Have you been served?
No member of Democracy Hub, Fix the Country, or any of the associated groups organizing the picket have received or been served with any application. In fact, the first time we heard about it was a number of media houses who were calling us and drawing our attention to the circulation on social media of the statements of the police. Now, we see that the police have invited us to respect due process of law, and we have always abided by the due process of law. But we know of no law that serves people of a court process on social media. And as long as we're not privy to what the police are talking about, we are not able to confirm or deny whether, in fact, any application has been made to the court. And that's notwithstanding.
But if an application has been made, isn't the announcement enough that at least it has been made and you know of it now?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, they are claiming that an application has been made. And by their own admission, there is no court order which is stopping the process from going ahead. In fact, we know that the government has taken a legal position, and that position has been affirmed continuously. One, by the Ghana Revenue Authority, which continues to apply and charge e-levy, even though there's a court and a court application and a case which has been brought against that e-levy, and they have still proceeded to implement it. We know that there's a court action against the Electoral Commission, against the limited registration, but yet we are still going ahead with it. So it seems very clearly, and everybody can understand that the legal position is that the mere filing of any application does not operate as an injunction to bar people from going forward. It is our hope that the police, and we understand that they have a legal department, that the legal department will take the time to explain the process, the position of the law to them, and that they will come and abide and respect their obligations under the Public Order.
If you're served, would you call the protest off?
No, if we are served, unless we are served, and let me be clear, unless we are served with a court injunction that requires us not to go ahead, and we can talk about debate about the morality of such an injunction. Of course, the court have been complicit in some of the misbehavior of the police. We would respect that court order, because one of the things we do not want to is to follow those who have decided that they are not going to respect the authority of our democracy and join them in their misbehavior. So as long as we do not have an injunction of the court, we will proceed. If we are served with an injunction of the court, then absolutely call off the protest.
The police is basing this on the questions of public order and public safety, and they are asking the public to disregard what you're planning to do tomorrow. Don't they have a case in this? They have to provide security for your own leadership and anybody else who is joining you tomorrow, and they're saying to you that they can't do that tomorrow for whatever reason. That's why they've taken this course of action.
That's fine. I mean, I think that one thing is clear. We think that what the police is doing is an intentional attempt to depress the number of people who are going to show up. And it may well have that effect, because a number of people may look at this and become apprehensive that we have a police service that is undisciplined, that they may come out and misbehave. So people might genuinely fear. But I do think that the vast majority of people we are hearing from are saying that they are going to go ahead and show up for the pickets, and that's what we're going to do. And it is important that we remind ourselves that one of the prices we have paid to no longer live under a dictatorship is the protection of the Constitution. And we do not want the police service that behaves like some of the police services that we have known in other African countries that have invited a destabilization of those countries. We love our democracy, we want it protected. And for which reason we are going to show up and turn up in support of that democracy.
But then you run a risk. If anything goes wrong, you'll be held liable. You are now subject to arrest and possible prosecution.
In fact, the only thing that can go wrong is that the police will not respect their legal obligations. Whether the police decide to abuse the law and arrest me, it's not the first time an individual has been unjustifiably arrested by the police. But I have ultimate faith in our democracy that the right thing would prevail. Those who abuse the power in order to suppress dissent have never won. That the act and the moral act of justice always bends in favor of those who stand up for what is right. So they may go ahead and decide to do whatever. In fact, I cannot control what they decide to do. What I am telling you is that we are going to show up and we're going to be peaceful. We're going to have our hands raised all the time to show that we have no intention of attacking the police or whatsoever. And if they put any roadblock, we're just going to stand in front of the roadblock without breaching that. But what we want to show is that we want to tear down abuse of power and show that it is ultimately resistance and the morality of justice that wins.
You just said that you can control what the police plans to do, but can you control what the individuals joining you tomorrow to protest will do?
Well, we've been in this country. Since the country has organized 9 demonstrations. The last demonstration we organized was in Tamale, with over 15,000 people showing up to demonstrate. It's a single, and I repeat, not a single piece of the country demonstration has resolved into chaos. Not a single person has been injured. In fact, we take our time to sweep our streets while we are at it. So yes, we have perfected the systems for ensuring that citizens that come up are law-abiding. With that invitation, the police decide, as they did with the Rise Ghana demonstration, to show up and become a jump provocateur. That is on to them. But as far as we are concerned, and the individuals who show up for our demonstrations are concerned, they are completely interested in improving our democratic culture. Why else do they do anything? There's no evidence of it.
Stay with me. I want to bring in lawyer and former ranking on the Constitutional Legal Affairs Committee, Inusa Fuseni, who joins us right now on the line as well. Mr. Fuseni, thank you for your time here on Top Story. So the police claims they have successfully served this on the Fix the Country movement. As you just heard there, the convener say they haven't received it, but the police say that in itself should stop them from proceeding, and I urging them to respect the law. What do you say about this?
Evans, good evening and thank you for having me. Evans, we need to go back to the Public Order Act, Act 936, and read carefully Section 1, subsection 1 to 7. My understanding is that the police have not notified or informed the demonstrators to either hold or postpone or change the route of their demonstration. Neither have the demonstrators, because they have not done that, the demonstrators have not written back under Section 5 to refuse to comply. And so Section 6, which invokes the jurisdiction of the court to step in, has not even materialized. I mean, the police will be shirking or running away from their responsibility to provide protection if they fail to provide protection to the demonstrators tomorrow, because there are procedural requirements from Section 1, subsection 1 of the Act to Section 7. And each subsection is very important. If the demonstrators did not apply to the court to the police 5 days before the intended day of the demonstration, the police have every right to refuse. If the demonstrators refuse to provide the name, the route, the destination, the time, the purpose of the subsection 2, then they would have breached the Act. So there are requirements. If the police thinks that there will be public compromises in public defense, public order, public safety, public health, and the run of essential services, or the violation of rights of persons, then they invoke Section 4. You see, so there are procedural requirements. And listening to this whole debate, I don't think that the procedural requirements actually imposed on the police have been complied with. And so I don't know the basis upon which they are going to court. In fact, their right to go to court under Section 6 has preconditions. It has preconditions. That is, there must be a refusal to change the route or a refusal to comply within 48 hours. That invokes the right of the police to go to court. The right doesn't exist alone. It's founded on certain things. Those things must be met before you can go to court. The police can go to court. The police cannot just get up and decide to go to court. No. I invite the police, like Becca said, I invite the police department to critically look at Section 1, subsection 1 to 7 of the Public Order Act. And you will come to the conclusion that every step matters in invoking the jurisdiction of the courts to settle the impasse between the police and the demonstrators.
Let me get some clarity from Baka Voma. Baka, when you met the police, and I doubt even if you have done so, did they indicate any objection to the protests and the intended route?
Absolutely not. In fact, we notified the police as far back as 21st August 2023, over a month before.
Hello, Oliver. Hello, Oliver. Okay.
Yeah, hello?
Yes, I lost you briefly. You say you notified them as far back as?
Yes, that we notified them as far back as 21st August, which is over a month ago. At no point have the police indicated to us that they are unable to provide security for the event. In fact, the last communication we had with them was on just this Saturday past, where we had written to them that we wanted to be able to visit the location with them, so that if there are any areas of the forefront of the Jubilee House that they don't want civilians or protesters to have access to, we can mark those out and then they can shield those away from the public. And they told us that they don't usually work on Saturdays. So let's put that within the week. Then the next thing we see is a press statement claiming that they have served any offense with an court of application. We think that this is a deliberate ruse, and we don't understand why the police feel so entitled to be able to do this. We really do not understand why.
I mean, but all they've done really is simply to use a legal process here and go to court and file the application on yourselves, as they claim. Nothing wrong there, is there?
I wish it was so simple. As you know, as the Honorable Minister was explaining, that there are procedural steps through which a person must go through before you get to filing an application. The fact that the process doesn't invite you to file any application in order to create an expectation or a process to abuse other people's rights. That's not what the courts exist for. The court exists to fulfill rights and not to violate them. So I don't know where they feel that there's a certain entitlement, that the mere filing of an application, if in fact one did happen, entitles them to block citizens from exercising constitutional rights when they have more than the law required of 5 days. They give them a month's notice, and yet they fail to reach out to us to be able to reach an understanding whatsoever.
Oliver, stay with me. Inusa Fuseni, stay with me as well. This protest was scheduled to go ahead at the seat of government, the presidency, to be very precise, for 3 days. I want to bring in a man who works there. He's a presidential staffer, but also the executive secretary of the Interministerial Coordinating Committee on Decentralization. He is Dennis Miracle Abuaji. Hello, Dennis. Thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you for having me.
So tomorrow, where you work, would have seen many people gathering to protest against corruption, to protest against the economic challenges. Tonight, the police have sought on the application, and they claim they've served it on them. And this is a party that believes in the rule of law and the democracy. Yeah, they, of course, as you've heard argued, this is your right, and they should simply be allowed to register that protest against the issues that I've outlined. Where do you stand on this?
Well, to be very sincere and fair to your listeners, but for a few hours ago, about an hour or two ago, I didn't even know that there was an impending demonstration tomorrow. And I also don't think that there's a problem with anybody wanting to demonstrate against whatever reasons. People have several reasons why they demonstrate. There are others who also disagree with the reasons why people demonstrate on various issues. But like you said, we're in a democratic dispensation, and we're all allowed to express our views in various forms and ways. The same democratic dispensation gives individuals and organizations mandates under the law to also execute as such. So I don't think government has any problem with anybody demonstrating for whatever reason. People demonstrate for personal reasons, selfish reasons, political reasons, disguised in or behind so many other reasons. So that's allowed. People also demonstrate for genuine reasons. That's also allowed. And government has no reason to be worried if anybody was to protest. And I had a conversation, and I heard that the police have filed an application or something of that sort.
Yeah, they have filed an application.
Yeah, I mean, that's the police. Maybe you should talk to the police.
The allegation, though, that this is politically motivated by your government.
Of course. What else do you expect? I mean, what else do you expect from whoever is organizing this?
Are you behind this to stop the protest from going ahead?
That's what I'm saying. What else do you expect? Ultimately, they must draw government into this. The police have their job. You keep making the point that we are in a democracy, and the democratic principles allow. The same democratic principles also have given institutions mandates. And when the institutions exercise the mandate, then you want to try and draw others who have nothing to do with that institution into it. Sometimes the double standards, they are too much. Government has no problem with anybody protesting. The police have their job to do. It has nothing to do with the government. Call the police on the line and ask them why. they've taken the position that they've taken, but it has nothing to do with government. And I don't think government will be drawn into this, whatever it is, between protesters and police. They should do whatever they want to do, and protesters can go on to protest if they want to. Police can also execute their mandates within the law as it's prescribed. If you disagree with the police, there are within the same political dispensation, there are processes for you to follow. And this has nothing to do with government. You can try to drag government into it, but ultimately the listeners and your viewers will know that this has always been the modus. When we do not have our way, let's go for the low-hanging fruit, drag government into it so that we can berate government. But this is needless, and I'll be surprised if anybody without a selfish parochial interest would accept that government has anything to do with it. The police have a job to do. Let's allow the police to do their job. Let's allow protesters to protest. Let's allow the protesters to do that within the law. Let's allow the police also to do their work within the law. If government has anything to do or say with or for or against a protest, the government will say so. But to try and drag government into it is quite unfortunate, but that's the standard operating procedure.
So I assume you have nothing then against the protesters, and you encourage that they go ahead with their protest?
If they are doing it within the law, but we cannot determine how all other institutions and individuals within the same democratic dispensation also exercises their mandates in the same democracy. But government has nothing, absolutely nothing. I mean, I heard Oliver make a point that they've had over 9 protests and demonstrations under the same government. So why would government have a problem with a group that is known to be a serial protesting group and a serial demonstrating group that where government has been tolerating, meeting, accepting petitions if they have any form for a while now? Why would government have any problem with the same group today? Government has no problem, Evans, absolutely no problem with anybody who wants to protest. Not all Ghanaians agree with the position that they have taken, and that is why you will not have 30 million Ghanaians coming on the streets. But at the same time, you can't also stop others from expressing their views in a protest as they want. I mean, the MPP is one of the political parties that is known to express our views in various forms, including protests and demonstrations. Thankfully, unlike it happened in the past, where we went on the street to protest and some of us were beaten and whipped with hostiles and all of that, we haven't had a cause to see any under this dispensation. And I'm glad that you heard Oliver say that there were about 9 protests and there hasn't been any incidents.
Yeah, let me bring in Oliver finally. Oliver, so you accept, do you know, that this is a decision taken by the police and they were doing so in pursuance of their professional mandate? They will ask the court to make a decision on the matter, and rightly so. This is what the democracy dictates.
First of all, I mean, I think that let's be clear that even in the exercise of powers that have been given to institutions or persons, that they might do so in a way that undermines the democracy. There's never been any dictatorship that is lawless. In fact, most dictatorships are lawful. They use the law and the instrument of the law to be able to achieve undemocratic ends. This is what we are talking about. The other gentleman that came in working from the office of the president, obviously, well, he's not privy to a lot of what is happening. So having just woken up, I mean, I can excuse a lot of the things that he's talked about. But everybody in this country knows that since the country first wanted to demonstrate on May 9, 2021, it took us up until August, 4th August, having been gone through the same process with the police as well to be able to get there. That there were intentional efforts to frustrate that so many of our conveners have received consistent and persistent death threats from elements within the government. But that's beside the point. I mean, I don't want to dwell on the attitude of the administration generally that continues to weaponize fear in order to dissuade people from speaking up. It's a conversation we can have another day. Today, what we are talking about is that the police employed a ruse that they claimed that they were going to support and going to respect their duties under the law and failed to do so. We are clear in our stance that we always respect the law. The law is clear. Unless there's an injunction or court order given by a court that prevents an exercise or the enjoyment of a particular constitutional right from going forward, you are entitled to do so. That is what we are going to do. We are going to show up, and we are going to show up peacefully. Now, whatever else that any person wants to justify police conduct, I mean, we're operating in a democracy, and I think that subsequently, after we have picketed at the house, we'll then go on and sue the police for this attempt to depress our numbers and also frustrate us from enjoying our constitutional rights.
Oliver, thank you very much. Miracles Abuaji, I'm grateful that you joined us, and also joining us as the former ranking member on the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee in Parliament, Inusa Fuseni. Where do you stand on this? The protest is tomorrow. You've seen the police's own statement and your reasoning for it. Share your thoughts. 055-1111-997.
Ajwa, the online page for the new business account was in shambles.